Hi everyone, my name's Jenna. I'm the Undergraduate Admissions Officer at Pembroke College, and I'm here today with Dr. Caroline Burt, who is the Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and Amber Cuttill, who is the Deputy Director of Undergraduate Admissions. We're here today with some frequently asked questions about applying to Cambridge. So Caroline, how important are the different parts of a Cambridge application?
Okay, so I think people often worry that there are particular bits of the application that are much more important than others, and the one that stands out is interviews, because that's the one people worry most about in that respect. Actually, the reality is that we take all of the bits of the application, whether that be an admissions assessment or an interview or predicted grades or exam record in the past, school reference, etc. We take all of those together and we see what picture emerges of the candidate from all of those different things. And some people will do better in some elements of it than others, and therefore we don't put weight on any particular one over another. I suppose if there's one that's most important, it would be your exam record and predictions. But I should also say to you that looking at exam record and predictions, we will look at the context in which you have done the exams and in which you are being educated now. So we'll look at your school that you were at for things like GCSEs and the school that you're at for things like A-levels, their equivalents, etc. So there's no particular weighting for individual bits of the application. We look at it all together, and it's definitely not the case that the interview is the be-all and end-all, the most important part. So in that regard, I would encourage you not to get too stressed about the interview and not to put too much weight on it in your own mind.
Great, thanks. So how can the applicants make their individual applications stand out to you when you're reviewing it?
Okay, so a couple of things that are really important. One is that you are applying for a course that you're really interested in, and that will come through in things like the personal statement. So it's to stand out, you need to choose something that you really want to study at university. And then on the other side, you need to be very able in that area. So in terms of your predicted grades and how you've done so far, and all of the things that would be particularly relevant to the course you're applying for, those are all things that will help make your application stand out. How can you demonstrate your interest? Well, you can do things like supercurricular exploration, read extra reading outside of your schoolwork. If you're looking at applying for something like a mathematical subject or a subject that involves a lot of maths, then it might be that you do extra maths problems in your spare time. Whatever it is, you're working to kind of extend yourself intellectually, and that's going to make you a stronger candidate overall.
Thanks. So Amber, Caroline mentioned the personal statement as part of applications there. So what should applicants be including in their personal statements?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're really looking for in personal statements when we're reading through is evidence that they genuinely are interested in the subject, that they've gone out of their way to explore it. So the personal statement should be very much focused on the supercurricular exploration that candidates have done, what they've learnt from that exploration, perhaps what other things they've gone on to do as a result of something that they've read, or a masterclass they've attended, or whatever it might be. So we recommend that about 75 to 80% of the personal statement is focused on that supercurricular exploration, what they did, what they learnt, and then the remaining 20-ish%, if they want to, can talk about extracurricular things, so things that they've done outside of school for their own interest. Now, that isn't something that Cambridge really takes into consideration, because we recognise that different students have got different access of opportunity to extracurricular things, but some universities do. And as it's the same personal statement that goes to all of the universities that you apply to through UCAS, then we don't mind if that's included. It's just not something that we'll consider that much.
So what should applicants do if they're applying to different courses at different universities for their personal statement?
Yeah, so firstly, what we would always recommend is that of the 5 choices that applicants do have, that the majority, or that those choices are all fairly closely linked. We do recognise though that Cambridge has got some courses that aren't so prevalent in other universities. So for example, you might apply for natural sciences at Cambridge, but perhaps just for physics or chemistry or biology at a different university. So if that's the case, then we'd recommend that your personal statement that you submit through UCAS is focused on focused on the subjects that you're applying to at the majority of the universities, and then there is an opportunity to submit a short extra personal statement to Cambridge about why the Cambridge course is of interest to you. So that way, if you tell us there why it's natural sciences, for example, that you want to study, you're not jeopardising your chances of receiving an offer from other universities that you apply to as well.
Great, that makes sense. So Caroline, when applicants apply to Cambridge, they can make an open application. Does that affect their chances of receiving an offer?
Okay, that's a really good question. So let me first of all just say a bit about what an open application is. So as part of an application to Cambridge, ordinarily you would choose a college that you were expressing your first interest in. But if you can't choose a college, you just can't decide between them, you really don't mind which one you go to, you can put this thing in called an open application, and a computer will allocate you to a college. Once you're allocated to a college, you're treated exactly like anybody else who's applied to that college. And in fact, the people assessing your application won't even know that you didn't apply to that college directly. So in terms of your chances of getting an offer, it doesn't affect it. No one's actually even going to know that you have put an application in the group of people who will be assessing the application.
Thank you. So does Cambridge take into account extenuating circumstances for applications?
Yeah, definitely. So yes, we do, is the short answer to that. The university has got something called an extenuating circumstances form that can be completed and returned to the college that you've applied to let us know what the situation is and what the circumstances are that you've been to. And we would really recommend that you do tell us about anything that you've had that's impacted your education and might have impacted the grades that you've achieved in your hires or your GCSEs or whatever it might have been. Even if you've done really well in qualifications so far, but there has been something such as a close family bereavement, or you've missed a chunk of school through illness or something along those lines, then it's still really helpful for us to know, because it still enables us to provide a little bit more context to your application. So yes, we do take them into consideration, and I would really encourage applicants to make sure that if there are circumstances that may have affected their academic achievement so far, then that they please do tell the college so that they can consider it.
Great, that's really good for applicants to know. Thanks, Amber.
No worries.
Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video helpful. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments and we might make another video for you.